How did a once obscure incel and 4chan concept become mainstream enough to produce famous controversial influences? To the point where looksmaxxing and other uses of the maxing phrase is now used commonly by the general public. Clavicular, Braden Peters, is a semi-famous content creator / streamer who is considered the literal face of looksmaxxing. He helped popularize the concept beyond niche internet forums. Clavicular is now an influencer with countless controversies and legal issues, and despite himself saying he doesn't care for politics, he often appears on right-wing shows and often talks about traditionalist values. From shooting an alligator in the Everglades to allegedly injecting his underage girlfriend at the time with fat-dissolving drugs. Clavicular is living a wild life and is inviting the world to watch as it all unfolds. People generally view Clavicular as some sort of enigma or a mysterious person that they just can't quite figure out. But today, I'm going to tell you the facts from my research and what I think the truth behind Clavicular really is.
If you had a daughter and she told you her husband cheated on her, how would you handle it and what advice would you give her?
Well, I would say, are you really gonna ruin such a, because I would expect that my daughter be with someone who's, high value and, is gonna take good care of it. Would you really be willing to give up this great thing that you have, this great relationship?
And I want you to be in a safe household environment, not in some workplace with weirdos. And they'll fight you on that. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Women have been completely brainwashed by this feminism thing. It's like,
nothing wrong with you.
I just haven't found the right. I don't think I have any problems.
I'm gonna call him, bro. Her voice is awesome.
It is.
I really like it.
Okay.
You sound like Sailor Moon. I'm gonna call him, bro.
Didn't have to work, and then I had to just stay home and do all the house duties and things like that. I also grew up with my
never been with a real
So, who is Clavicular? His real name is Braden Peters, and he gained fame from TikTok, which catapulted his Kick streaming career. While he didn't invent looksmaxxing, far from it, he did help popularize it immensely. Gaining fame as an influencer on 2025 TikTok, Braden's content about maxing went viral for his extreme and controversial methods. Clavicular reasons that his popularity stemmed from trying all the things that no one else wanted to or was too afraid to do for themselves, so that positioned him as some sort of pioneer of the self-improvement space, according to him anyway.
What do you think was the particular moment that made people really catch on to what you were doing?
I would say that a lot of like the DIY stuff was what blew up. Because a lot of people were too scared to try it themselves, like doing injectable fat dissolvers and stuff. I would post it on YouTube, and people thought it was crazy. They thought it was interesting. So that kind of gave me a lot of clout within like the tight-knit looksmaxxing community. But
one of his more notable extreme methods is called bone smashing, where he literally mashes his facial features with a hammer or some object to give himself more of an ideal facial shape, as per the looksmaxxing Eurocentric beauty standards. He's been very open about taking anabolic steroids and allegedly using crystal meth for an appetite suppressant to lean out. Also, in December of 2025, Clavicular actually ran over a dude in his Tesla, and that was pretty viral online too. Funnily enough, I actually didn't know that was him, and I don't think I was even aware of that situation. Honestly, so many streamers at the moment, they just seem to be running people over, getting into car accidents left, right, and center. I think Clavicular's just slipped through the cracks somehow. Anyway, it's always how it goes, isn't it? Someone incredibly dumb, stupid, does something insane, and actually gets rewarded for it. Oh, how I love society. At age 14, Braden started injecting himself with testosterone for his gender-affirming care. When his parents caught him with the supplements, they would send him to live with his grandmother or something, which I am guessing is the reason why this photo exists. I don't want to be that person, but I am not rating this 10 out of 10 parenting, guys. Just give the kid to grandma? Okay, that makes sense. But then we get a clip where Clavicular reveals that his mum would take away his drugs, but then give them back if he asks for them back?
You know, so after, obviously, I got kicked out of school, I went and lived with grandma because the parents were extremely disappointed in me. They weren't too surprised. Obviously, they were mad, but not surprised. They were just like, yep, who could have seen this bullshit coming? And also, my mom, like, allowed me to, you know, have the steroids to begin with. So it was kind of her fault. What was she going to say? She, like, took them away for a day, and I was like, dude. And then she just gave them back.
It seems like Clavicular got pretty out of hand in his teen years, and his parents couldn't really control him. I would also say that taking away your kids' drugs and then giving them back a day later or something is just permissive parenting at that point. And it just shows your kid that you don't really mean what you say, so they're not going to respect you or take you seriously when you do say no. It's really the sort of stuff you actually have to get a handle on while your child is like still a toddler. And if they grow up never respecting the word no, then you sure as hell won't be able to use it on them when they're a teenager. Just saying. Speaking of the parents, there has been a huge rift between Clavicular and his father in particular. There have supposedly been quite a few occasions where his dad has called out Clavicular's drug use and behavior. Apparently his parents watch his stream and will be like texting him and telling him to stop doing certain things or to at least make their disapproval known to Clavicular.
My dad said full-blown drug addict, sad. My dad said that.
Don't say that right now.
Oh, Dad.
Don't say that.
Dad, I'm making money. What the fuck do you want me to do?
No. Don't say that.
Next stream we'll give shit to the homeless or something.
Don't say that.
We have to do something nice next stream, alright? Like,
Do it now.
In this particular instance, I have a hard time believing that it's true. Why? Clavicular is reading out supposedly a text his father sent him, but it sounds more akin to something that you'd read in a Twitter comment section or TikTok comment section. It just sounds weird to me. Now, I don't know his father. I don't think someone who would fly all the way from New Jersey to Miami to try and stage an intervention with his son when he apparently overdosed. I don't think a parent would text something akin to a TikTok comment, but I don't know the guy. Maybe the guy's weird. I could be wrong about that. People were saying from that text message alone, it goes to show that Clavicular is the way that he is because of his father and not because Clav spent his formative years being on Looksmaxxing incel forums. That's why I think this video and moment alone kind of serve a larger narrative, painting the dad as the issue, and people won't look at Looksmaxxing and think that and the mainstreaming of alt-right concepts is a big deal.
I spent my formative years on looksmax.org to answer your questions.
Well, it seems like it worked out pretty well for you.
Did it?
That might sound like a stretch for now, but keep watching the video and you'll see why I think that very soon. And yeah, there's another clipped moment where maybe I just don't want to believe it, but this is a really bad father if he is texting his son shit like IRL goat. This is why sometimes I think Clavicular's just lying, especially because sometimes he has phone calls with his dad and then he has text messages that he just reads out loud. And I just have a hard time believing that it's real.
My dad texted me IRL goat. IRL goat. My dad's telling me go IRL. What the f is going on? Why? Why did he just text me that? W dad? Listen to him? Hell no.
My dad said burn that jacket at the end of the night.
So did Sue get punched in the eye or what?
Yeah, it's kind of brutal.
What happened to the guy?
The one, which guy? Oh yeah, he's not doing well. Let's just say none of those guys ended up off better than he did. Is it good or no?
How much? How much?
15.
100?
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll see you later.
Hey, Dad?
Yeah.
Why are you, giving me all these different problems?
Oh, it's me. Let's go to sleep. It's been up 40 hours straight.
Dad, I'm trying to make money.
Who cares about money? I don't want you to die.
I care about money.
Alright, well, if you die making it, I don't know how to spend it.
Well,
just get some sleep, right? I'm just concerned about it.
no, you're not concerned about me. You're threatening me. You're like, oh, I'm going to turn off your phone service and all that shit.
It's like,
It's not, because I don't know what else to do to get you to just go to sleep.
what?
It's alright, I'll just leave you alone for now. Well, how much did that cost you?
$6K?
And you just, I mean, and you just ended it, right?
I could
So
give
you're out.
a shit about the money, you know what I mean? Fuck those girls.
Well, what was bothering you about the girls?
I mean, they were just trying to do shout outs on their fucking, like on my stream, and my dad said, Brayden, calm down, please. Dad, what are you telling me to calm down for?
You get out of control. Just relax.
I need to calm up. These people switched up on me.
Okay, I understand. Just relax. Relax.
I did nothing.
I know. I know. You're not 21. Just relax, okay? Just relax, okay?
How could I relax? I'm on my last nerve right now. Asking me to pay for Ubers, you make $500,000 a month. I'm 0 for 20 cold approaching. You're telling me to calm down. I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done streaming. I'm done with this town. I'm done.
Okay.
I'm gonna freak out. I'm gonna freak out. I need to go find somewhere that'll f***ing take me.
So, Looksmaxxing Origins is important to talk about, and the term looksmaxxing is a portmanteau of the words looks and maximizing. And if, like me, you didn't know what portmanteau meant, it means to create a new word by blending words together. Pretty straightforward. Looksmaxxing has ties to black pill ideology and is based on interpreting masculinity in a white supremacy lens. Also, it's extremely misogynistic in its thinking. Of course it is. It comes from the incel community. Looksmaxxing ideas were coined by incels on internet forums back in the 2010s. Places like 4chan, Pua Hate, Slut Hate, Lookism.net, these concepts have been around for quite some time, but they were contained. They were contained until they weren't. You could argue that looksmaxxing today isn't focused on what it used to be and now is more about like self-esteem and being yourself, your best self, like self-help kind of self-improvement, right? I personally don't agree with that. I also think you need to be aware of the foundation and roots that looksmaxxing was born from to truly understand why it is structured the way that it is. It was a warped perception of what women wanted in men. Your value in the sexual marketplace is based purely on your facial structure and features. Not to mention that all the beauty standards of looksmaxxing are based on the Nordic, Nazi-Aryan view of the ideal-looking human, degrading anyone who doesn't look white, and encouraging people who are ethnic to try and look more European. Not really surprising that there's a video of Sneeko, Very Fuentes, and Clavicular all singing along to Kanye's Heil Hitler song. This video that actually got Sneeko banned from Miami nightlife. Yeah.
Twitter.com/TheZircleOfficial.
Right.
No bots.
So yeah, the only problem is, the Asian phenotype has a different type of skull structure, typically with a more flat side profile. So
I hate my side profile. So
yeah, it's okay. I mean, the front profile is more important, but in motion, it's definitely going to be a flaw.
Sorry, people of color, Asians, Italians. Sorry, you're not invited to the bone smashing table, I guess. Male pickup artists who create content do so while perpetuating an idea that women are programmable and it works to dehumanize us. Pickup artists will create videos where they pay women to appear in their video, often finding them on sites like Craigslist, wannabe actors, you name it. People looking for a gig, whatever. And they act out these scenarios and make it seem like it's just very easy to manipulate women into moves. As long as you hit the right button combo, you land a critical hit and you can make out with a hottie. Children watch this content and believe what they see, not realizing that this is all fake and make-believe, right? You might think that in the current era of looksmaxxing that it is maybe harmless or only bad because it could prey on dysmorphia of the body. The idea of just improving your appearance may not seem sinister to most people, however, looksmaxxing is not about looking your best self. Going further into the sexual marketplace ideology, which you may have heard manosphere males speak about, looksmaxxing encourages looking at oneself through a lens of sexual market value, also known as SMV, meaning if you're a high value looking male and fit the criteria, you will get girls, but you will not just get any girls, you get the 10 out of 10 hotties. You will also supposedly have an easier life. Often you'll hear these manosphere clowns say that the best looking men hold the market on beautiful women, leaving the low tier ladies for everyone else, thus creating a fake scarcity of good looking women. This creates incentive to looksmax and to not be left with the female crumbs. These clowns talk about and treat adult real sexual relationships as though it's like finance and market shares. Not only that, but the roots of the ideology are warped ideas of what women want in men, made up by guys who don't know women. The focus was on facial Eurocentric looks. Not having your own home or a car or even money wasn't that much of a detriment as long as you looked good. A lot of men get brainwashed into thinking that if they don't fit a certain rubric of facial attractiveness, then they are not desirable, full stop. They are subhuman amongst their peers, a very dehumanizing way to treat one another. It's not hard to assume it's a toxic community. So that's all completely stupid, right? But it is this ideology that gets ingrained into males at a young age, where they stop seeing women as human beings, or are groomed from a very early age to believe that women are just really hateful of them. And I know the internet doesn't help with that. But before you know it, you've been groomed and primed since a young age to believe that all women are hypercritical, hateful towards you, based on your appearance alone. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but it's not all of us, and you shouldn't waste your time and mental space on people like that. That's just good life advice, for free. On some incel forums, if men are rated poorly, they may actually be harassed by others and told to take their own life, and this is where mogging kind of comes from, asserting dominance over another person based on appearance. Also AMOG, which refers to alpha mogging. Remember the whole discourse we had like years ago about being an alpha male versus a beta? Dude, I can't believe anyone took that seriously. I sure hope they didn't. But you know what? Some 8-year-olds heroes were those guys, by the way. Again, no kid today is going to be looking up at Frodo Baggins. Just saying. Some of the general beliefs held by the PSL community, PSL referring to poor hate, slut hate, and lookism. That's an abbreviation for them. And don't forget, looksmaxxing.org is also a part of that. Not part of the abbreviation or the acronym, but it is a part of that whole umbrella. So the general beliefs is that the face is the most important feature, as I probably said ad nauseum. Personality and confidence apparently don't matter. It also has a lot of generalizations about women, who's surprised, such as believing women always lie about their body count, or if a woman wants to be in a long-term relationship, they make the guy work for intercourse instead of engaging on the first date, and then if they don't care about the guy, then they'll have intercourse on the first date. I don't know. Another belief is that most women actually are already having casual intercourse, even the single ones, and judge average looking men more harshly due to something called the halo effect. The halo effect is basically just another way to say pretty privilege, I think. Basically, if you're hot enough, you can break social norms and are generally judged a lot lighter than someone who is not conventionally good looking. It is an idea that people will judge you as being more virtuous due to your looks. And yet, people like Clavicular still want to try and make it out like this whole movement or message is good for men somehow. After hearing all that, how is this good for guys?
Just like becoming like trendy or viral based on one thing. Just the fact that I'm consistently streaming every single day, getting more and more clips out there, doing more and more media appearance, just generally captivating more people with my message because it resonates super well with a society of men who are really not that well off in a lot of regards.
In what sense? Like, what do you think are the main things that men are suffering from in 2026?
Economic struggle, lack of success in the dating market, hypergamy, stuff like that.
But your idea is to sort of withdraw from the dating market to an extent and pursue self-improvement in a way to ascend in a way that doesn't put you in last place.
I think you're going to be wasting your time entering the dating market until you are maximized
in career and aesthetic.
Preying on boys with self-esteem issues and leading them down a path of traditionalism and alt-right ideology, which will ultimately stop them from getting into relationships with women as women continue to become more and more left-leaning and rejecting traditionalist values of the past. It's a recipe for disaster. But it's because these niche influences in looksmaxxing, the manosphere, they manage to find a girl who will stay with them despite being hot garbage, and it makes their followers believe that they too can achieve the same success. I think Clavicular is a great example of a young boy who was, and clearly still is, very insecure, and unsure of himself and his place in the world. Even if he refutes that sentiment, I believe that personally. If he had any self-confidence, I don't think he would be destroying himself with drugs and alcohol just so he can stream on Kick. That alone is a pretty significant issue of his. And even if he says he just does it for money, it's still... If anything, he's kind of like... I don't want to say it, but... I don't know. Feels like he's kind of whoring himself out to his audience a little bit. When these young boys like Braden Peters are introduced to these concepts online, or their heroes are young and stupid people like maybe Jack Doherty, Jack Epstein as some people call him, I've heard, the influence is undeniable. A young boy may be interested in looksmaxxing from the face of it, no pun intended, wanting to improve their looks and figuring out what kind of features they have. When you're a kid, you don't have a lot of control in the world, so you might look elsewhere to seek control. Perhaps your looks are an aspect you can try to control. However, I think it's a slippery slope to becoming indoctrinated into the roots of the campaign, which will make more sense in a second. If you think about looksmaxxing for more than 5 minutes and you're remotely intelligent, you realize pretty easily that it is all based on racism and an inherently bad and negative view of women. And it's really quite easy for someone like Clavicular to get thrown down a pipeline, algorithms made by giant corporations designed to get maximum attention because it is a high value for their profits. Algorithms know that extreme content is incredible at capturing and retaining attention. Children are extremely vulnerable to the algorithms, and dare I even say, algorithms are directly grooming children into these pipelines. I said what I said. Gone are the days of growing up and watching Aragorn on the TV, an 87-year-old man, and thinking, man, that's a hero, man. The heroes of today are people like Andrew Tate, Jason the Ween, and the Burnt Peanut. Yeah. You know what, Jason the Ween's probably not the worst person, maybe. He's probably not that bad. If you look up one video, you might find your feed then littered with more of the same stuff, gradually getting more and more insane. An avalanche of ideologies far too dangerous for young minds to be seeing with zero guidance. And they're not getting any guidance. Parents just slap an iPad in front of their kids and say, have at it. If you ask me, I actually think Clavicular is like a male-branded Kardashian. And I'm glad men finally get to enjoy the antics of the Kardashians and not feel insecure in their masculinity because of it. But you should watch the Kardashians. They low-key pioneered Clav's strategy. Just saying. It's good. It's fun. Let yourself enjoy it, guys. Normiefication and mainstreaming fringe ideologies is an important chapter of this video. The normalization of fringe ideology happens through a process called normiefication and mainstreaming. Normiefication describes how niche communities and beliefs can expand beyond their native subcultural home and move into mainstream media, particularly social media, hence TikTok. Think about how looksmaxxing is a term everyone uses and they put maxing at the end of everything else now. The niche communities that built these ideas would call those people normies. Normiefication doesn't necessarily mean fringe ideas become widely popular, it refers to the migration of fringe ideas from niche to mainstream, thus an increased visibility of those concepts. For widespread popularity to be achieved, the fringe ideas must undergo mainstreaming. This is the more sinister turn where parties, actors, discourse, or attitudes move away from a marginal position towards a more central viewpoint, shifting what is deemed acceptable or legitimate in political circles, media, and contexts. And thus, the spread of radical ideas to a wide audience can and does happen. When harmful and fringe ideas are repackaged or rebranded for broader appeal and susceptibility, vulnerable audiences are drawn in. To put it bluntly, social media platforms are exploited to distribute these ideas onto people, and the platforms seem to be more than happy to let it happen, so is it really exploitation? As more and more people begin to accept these fringe ideas, shifts in societal norms start to occur. We start to see a normalization of certain topics that we weren't before, and vulnerable groups become increasingly more compromised. Clavicular even says in his Channel 5 interview that he's trying to stay consistently doing media appearances, going viral, being trendy, to get the message out there, and he reckons it resonates well with the society of men who are not well off in a lot of ways. Again, do you really think that what Clavicular and the Looksmaxxing community is peddling will be beneficial for boys in any way, any sense of the manner? And it's even crazier because he says he literally just does all of this for money, but then he does interviews and he tries to pretend like he's part of something greater. He's not.
It should have never existed.
Yeah, bro's mad he didn't get invited.
This is the whole timeline is people hating from outside of the club.
Yeah, bro.
You can't even get in.
Yeah, no fucking invite.
Bro, but why are people more angry about us going to the club than war? You get regime change in Venezuela, war in Iran, and then you see less tweets than like a couple guys.
It's probably the
at
worst
the club.
humanity has brought about since the atom bomb. I cannot comprehend something so awful. You fucking put all of this shit together, you barely got one white guy. What do you mean 1.5? Clavicular doesn't even count as white anymore because of all the peptides that he's doing.
Okay, retard. Yeah, I'm not white because of peptides. That makes a lot of sense.
And he's the closest to being white in that crew. And yet they're all fucking white supremacists. Time to delete the...
Bro. Okay, buzzword maxing. They're all white supremacists. Like, what does that even mean?
Internet, it's over. Also, unironically, I'm whiter than all of these guys. That's why I wasn't invited.
Dude, it's funny how he uses, like, white as a superiority metric. That's so good. Bro, I'm literally whiter than these guys. You hear that, Sneeko? I'm whiter than them. Like, exposed, hello, busted. Like, a superiority metric being white? Yeah, we caught you, buddy. Nice little slip up there. But, dude, like, what are these copes, man? Like, we have more money than him, you know.
So pseudoscience is a pretty core aspect of looksmaxxing. Not only are we dealing with roots in white supremacy, inherent racism, misogyny, but looksmaxxing almost always involves the use of a PSL scale. And the PSL scale comes from the PSL community and is not an actual scale per se. Remember, PSL community, poor hate, slut hate, lookism. That's what it stands for. Those are 3 different websites. Yeah. Which, pickup artist hate, I don't know what the context of that site was, but I also do be hating pickup artists, so... All 3 of these websites at one point ended up shutting down. Looksmaxx.org may not be part of the acronym, like I said before, but is often referred to as, I guess, a spiritual successor of the PSL community. I mean, where do you think all the people from those other 3 websites that shut down migrated to? right? The PSL community discussed looks theory, looksmaxxing, and the black pill. While not necessarily categorized as incel forums, many of the users are incels. So at a certain point you can kind of say maybe it is just an incel forum. A lot of the memes, concepts, and beliefs shared by the users there are also commonly overlapped with incel forums, so I personally don't have any trouble calling the PSL community incels. So this attractiveness scale was strictly designed with the aim of interpreting how women perceive men, but it is a reinterpretation of the female gaze, and it's retaliatory in practice and theory. This reframing of the female gaze is done so in many ways to insinuate that the female gaze, and that women, generally speaking, look at you in a hypercriticality, and thus invite men to become reactionary, focused on judging women on a scale harshly, because hey, if I believe that the same would be done to me, I'm going to do the same to them. Of course this comes from incels. Women will tell you that the female gaze is, for instance, the veins on like a man's arm or the hair. I know it sounds weird, but those are things. Or maybe even a man's hands and gripping motions, you know, like that. Listen, hey, I'm a woman, that's what I've heard, so I've been told. Or it could be Colin Firth in a wet shirt playing Mr. Darcy. Now me personally, I don't really understand that. I don't think Colin Firth is that attractive to me personally. But I've heard plenty of women say it, so hey, we're all different. We're all different, guys. Men, or rather incels, will tell you that the female gaze is Aryan-like Eurocentric beauty standards and Caucasian aesthetics. The pseudoscience comes from compact mid-face theory, facial to width to height ratio, and we'll get into more of the pseudoscience in a second. But knowing that this comes from the incel community, it's not hard to believe that their perception of women, what women want in men, is extremely warped and inaccurate. So already we're kind of going, well, if this is what looksmaxxing is founded on, then it's extremely flawed, right? It's extremely flawed. The PSL scale has a scientific veneer. So instead of saying that white people are the supreme race, it states that, certain phenotypic traits are the best and they just happen to be Eurocentric beauty standards. This is an example of taking an extreme viewpoint and rebranding it, or changing up the way that you deliver the message to make it more palatable to general audiences. Those who are unfamiliar with eugenics, racial essentialism, Hitler's Aryan race delusions, might not catch on to this. Furthermore, these people are convinced that looks are everything, even clavicular, but then when he goes to France to model, he has a culture shock when women over there don't seem to care about him. He even tweeted saying that he needs to become more interesting so he can carry conversations better. This is where I think Clavicular is kind of inconsistent. He talks about how pointless it is getting with a girl and slaying her, which in adult speak, that means intercourse with a woman, I think. He says it's pointless and it's a philosophical debate for another time. But it's interesting to me that he's like, it's all pointless, and yet so much of his content is centered around going to clubs and making out with random people. So what exactly is the message he's trying to make?
You know, get a girl to go home with you. Like, that's an example of, okay, maybe the oxidative stress could be justified because you got the success of, slaying a girl, for example. That's kind of like a meaningless pursuit, and that's a whole nother huge philosophical argument, but just for the purpose of this interview, that would be like one example where it kind of makes a little bit more sense. Yeah. But I don't really think that people should be drinking and doing drugs recreationally for the most part, and I know that would appear super hypocritical because I do it a good amount. It's just something that I utilize for my work, for my content, because I can't really function around people too well or be super entertaining in my sober state.
Yes, this guy is content-brained, obsessed with clips and moments, but I think about why. I really do. And I think he said it pretty plainly. It's to spread his message, and if anything, he seems more like a poster boy for a movement that is ultimately destructive to the lives of young guys, and he is more than happy to profit off of that.
Okay, so you have a 10 out of 10, great personality, but she has 15 bodies, and she loves you. She wants to get married.
She doesn't love you. That's the thing. If she's got 15 bodies, she is unable to actually form a pair bond with you. A lot of the oxytocin response has been diminished with each sexual partner.
Yo, you're fucking hilarious, bro. You all obviously believe in all this too, right?
What kind of question is that?
No, I'm sorry. Like, have you ever chased a chick with a chainsaw or no?
No.
Okay. I just am trying to find that, but I feel like that's hard to find, a chick with less than 15 these days. So, and maybe I'm looking in the wrong places, but
I would certainly
I'm also
say
not
so.
looking.
Even aesthetic surgeons have come out and said stuff like bone smashing techniques they're not rooted in anything scientific at all. And another thing I'm concerned about is the potential that these older Looksmaxxers are getting other things done to attain these looks, but not disclosing that to their audience. And listen, that is a trick that I am a woman and I am familiar with. We have countless examples of beauty influencers and celebrities who get really subtle work done and then try to play it off like it's a makeup technique, or they want to sell you a diet or an exercise to look like them. In my opinion, Looksmaxxing is just no different. It's just rebranded. In like a weird way, I kind of think that because women started going and recognizing these ploys a lot more, I wonder if there was just some, like, I know it's so conspiratorial to say, but it just makes me think that now all of a sudden there's this big market for men who want to do, self-improvement Looksmaxxing. And it just makes me wonder if they needed a replacement, because women were we've been catching on for a while about the techniques that they've been manipulating us with in the beauty world. Just a theory. This is where it's going to get a little bit crazy, but Peter Thiel. I can't tell you for sure that Peter Thiel is fundraising Clavicular, but I will tell you that I personally believe it to be true, in my opinion. You might wonder why this matters at all. Well, as I pointed out earlier, Clavicular has a lot of inconsistencies between what he says and what he does. More on that specifically later. Often he is saying he's not a white supremacist, but then he goes and does things and hangs out with people who kind of are. It's not hard to wonder if you can trust what he says. He says he isn't an incel or a sexist, yet he does say extremely sexist things. He's not racist, but he says and does racist things and participates in a very racist ideology. Everything about Clavicular's brand and identity is telling you to not believe your eyes. In a few ways, he's kind of just like Hassan. And in order to be protective, I do have to clarify that I don't know Peter Thiel or Clav on a personal level. I cannot confirm and tell you with my whole chest that they are in cahoots, but I can tell you why I believe it to be true. The fashion show that Clav walked in was led by Elena Velez, who is rumored to be connected to Thiel. Thiel has been reported to have said that he is very engaged with the idea of reaction, and according to this report that I had read, Thiel finds it beneficial to fund right-wing personalities and edgy artists who can push the agenda that feminism is cringe, that slurs are funny, edgy and interesting, and that political apathy is also interesting. And by funding this nihilistic view that voting is unimportant, that politics is Jester, as Clav says, you don't need to take away people's voting rights if you take away their passionate incentives. And interestingly, during an interview, a reporter asked Clav about his connection to Peter Thiel, and immediately he seemingly panicked and tried to reverse it onto her, saying that she was in fact the one being funded by Peter Thiel. And it gets more sinister when you realize that Peter Thiel had associations with Jeffrey Epstein, which began in 2014, long after his pedophilic tendencies had become publicly known. Epstein eventually invested $40 million in venture capital funds managed by Valar Ventures, which is a firm co-founded by Peter Thiel. While Epstein was known for traveling and attending business meetings with out-of-place looking young European women, Thiel is apparently also known for traveling with an entourage of men, and biographer Max Chafkin described it as disconcertingly attractive young men. From the Epstein files, reporters have noticed an odd connection between Thiel and Epstein where both men seemingly were excited about the downfall of society. Where Brexit occurred, Epstein even emailed Thiel saying it's the beginning, a welcome return to tribalism and countering globalization. There is also an infamous 2009 essay by Thiel where he describes that the elites must use esoteric doublespeak to hide their true intentions from the masses. So when it appears that there's a mysterious person on Kick donating $500,000 to Clavicular's stream named P, it raises a few eyebrows. One paper I read linked the reasoning why these two could be in cahoots, allegedly, is because of Thiel's transhumanist interests. There's a suspicion that if Clavicular can convince a lot of young men that no matter what they do, they're not good enough, maybe they'll go beyond nature's limitations and search for radical means of self-improvement. This, in turn, might create an audience interested in transhumanist intervention like implant information technologies and artificial intelligence inside people. Maybe it's crazy, maybe it's not, it's all speculation.
Do you know who Peter Thiel is?
Peter Thiel, yeah. He's a billionaire that owns Palantir.
I got invited to a Peter Thiel party. You think that's gonna be a Diddy party? Probably.
Whew. Billionaires, they get a little creepy.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I don't want to get diddied.
Hey, anybody that's working a lot after they make like $100 million has some mental issues.
Well,
you want to run a route, they'll do a penalty shootout?
I mean, anyone who makes a lot of money, like that $100 million, has something wrong with them.
Yeah.
Also, another thing I wanted to mention, Clavicular got so triggered by France that he said European women were so unattractive compared to American women because in Europe the gene pool got devastated in World War II. But then he's insisting that Sneeko should optimize his undertones to look a little bit more European.
And I think that's something that could benefit you, and this is what I tell to a lot of ethnics, is antioxidants are really good for, optimizing your undertones and looking a little bit more European, right? So Europeans typically tend to have this like reddish glow as their undertone, whereas ethnics don't necessarily have an undertone in their skin. So I would say that that's probably the best way to go about it. So that's going to be like your lycopene, like your astaxanthin, or, obviously you can increase your RBC with taking like testosterone, for example, would also give you that. So that'd essentially be like race maxing.
Yeah, white maxing would be.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, so what is it called again?
So Clav is telling a Haitian Filipino man to look more European, but also Europe's gene pool got devastated like 80 years ago. And Clavicular even says, this is what I tell to a lot of ethnics. So please to explain to me how a white man singing along to Heil Hitler and then demands justice for his African-American security guard, how does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. Why? Because this man is a grifter, he's a bad person, and people should stop feeling empathy for him in my opinion. Clavicular the liar and true jester. Clavicular's stream is all about entertainment and being the true sense of the word jester. Doing drugs to maintain an ability to be entertaining is never going to end well. The dependence on substances to do your job will always catch up to you. And it is quite concerning to hear that Clavicular feels he can't do his job as a streamer and perform unless he is on stimulants. Therein lies the true jestering. Most people would come to the conclusion that perhaps the job just isn't for them. If it requires giving up your health and well-being, that's true jestering. But what is it that makes Clavicular a liar, in my opinion? The answer is pregnancy. In the beginning of 2026, around early February, Clavicular started making what I assume are jokes now about him and his then girlfriend Violet having a baby. There are multiple clips of him from this time frame, not just alluding to, but straight up saying he's gonna be a father.
Little kick?
Yeah.
I think it's too soon. It's crazy.
Then there's another clip of Clavicular straight up saying he has a kid coming in 7 months.
Yo, I have a kid on the way.
You what?
A kid on the way.
For real?
Yeah. I'm fertile right now. Like, I just don't want to have a daughter.
Then in another interview, he's like, well, I'm infertile because of my steroid usage.
Wrap up? No.
No. How do you not wrap up? Ever?
Never once. You know how steroids work? Right now I'm infertile.
Oh, what?
Also, not using protection when he engages in intercourse at all. I am genuinely baffled that no one is calling this man the disease maxer. Bro is maxing his STDs through the roof, acting like that.
Oh, girl, I love
All right,
you.
we'll move on to the next person. What's your name?
Lily.
Welcome back. What is it?
Lily.
All right, Lily, how old are you?
I'm 18.
Where are you from?
I'm from Ohio. Originally.
To be honest, I'd rather ask Clav these questions. How long you guys been together?
A month and a half, since April 1st.
I don't like to talk to women if they're
At this point, Clavicular and Lily had been together for around a month and a half. Then, on April 15th of 2026, there was a clip that went mega viral, gaining 15 million views on Twitter alone, spreading misinformation that Clavicular had found out his girlfriend of 10 days was pregnant. Of course, if you just started intercourse with a girl 10 days ago, there's no possible way that you could have an accurate pregnancy test after 9 to 10 days. None of this matters because it's just a clip made up to generate outrage and make the clipper money, whatever. I would say it's probably not Clavicular's fault that someone was spreading lies about him, but Clavicular already lying about being a father with Violet for views, it's not surprising viewers would do the same. While it says on his Wikipedia page that he's no longer fertile due to using testosterone at such a young age, to the point where his body can't naturally produce T on its own, he's now saying he's fertile now? I believe use of testosterone supplementation can make you infertile temporarily, but ceasing the use of the supplement, I think eventually you will regain fertility levels, it just might take a long time. But as far as like steroid usage, I'm not sure. I don't really know that much about like what Clavicular takes, and I'm also not a doctor. One study I read said that chronic use of T recovery is not clear for those people, and even if Clavicular says he is fertile again, it's really hard to tell if he's telling the truth or not. And just so you know, Clavicular and Lily Snyder have been dating since April 5th, although I think they're broken up now. During his appearance on Fresh and Fit with Lily, he uses an enormous amount of time making stuff up about Lily, his girlfriend at the time, about how she was lazy, the chores weren't done, she doesn't cook hot meals for him, she doesn't iron his shirts, and that she sleeps until 3 in the afternoon, which Lily refutes all that stuff right then and there, speaking up for herself, defending herself.
We literally sleep until 3 in the afternoon. We go to bed at the same time.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I wake up maybe like 20 minutes or 30 minutes after you do, and then I get ready in the bathroom, and then I come out.
Great. So, yeah, no, it'd be nice to have that so that it's just like about efficiency, right? It's like if I could...
Well, maybe except the ironing shirts thing, we didn't get her defense on that, but who cares? Everything else she says Clavicular was not being honest. Lily then goes on to say her piece after being interrupted by unfunny idiots constantly that she has never been in a relationship where she just stayed at home and didn't have to work.
Waffles, and be good, bro.
I just want to say, but I just started a relationship like this. I've never been in a relationship where I didn't have to work and that I had to just stay home and do all the house duties and things like that. I also grew up with my...
Never been with a real nigga.
She's 18 years old here, by the way. Clavicular talks about politics being Jester and says he tries not to do it because it's silly, then goes on Fresh and Fit and talks about politics for 3 hours. Even going as far to say that in 2026, you can't be in the lowest income bracket and care about the presidential outcome because it won't affect you.
How much money do you make a year, roughly? You're probably in the lowest income bracket. There's quite literally no effect on your life if it's Donald Trump or if it's Kamala Harris, quite honestly.
But I have a son, so
you have a son? Yeah, so what policy is actually going to affect them?
Whether it was Kamala or Trump doesn't affect you, you're in a low tax bracket. This guy is an idiot, which we probably all know by now, but I need you to see how terrible he is. Again, in his Channel 5 interview, Andrew even says he knows that Clavicular hates talking about politics, but brings up Looksmaxxing and how it's associated with the manosphere politics. Looksmaxxing, of course, is political because of its origins and how it is used. For Clavicular to say that it isn't is disingenuous. To the point where I don't think he's a useful idiot for an agenda. I think he knows exactly what he's doing.
I know you hate talking about politics, and the last thing I want to do is trap you in a politics rabbit hole, but you mentioned that looksmaxxing isn't political. There is an association in the press with looksmaxxing and the sort of right-wing manosphere. Do you agree with that?
It's more so just the fact that I've collaborated with like people who say like edgy things, but that's my brand. It's like I really don't care. Like I'm really not trying to be like PR or whatever. It would just be too much work, really. So
yeah,
that's why I guess they've tried to do that. But in terms of my actual political ideology and whether or not looksmaxxing has any political implications, it doesn't. So, and looksmaxxing is bigger than myself, right? So even if I were to hypothetically be right or left wing, it wouldn't change the fact that looksmaxxing is apolitical.
What does the S and PSL stand for?
In Clavicular's response, he even downright lies and says that it wouldn't matter if he was left-wing or right-wing, looksmaxxing is factually apolitical. Disingenuous. This is straight up Hassan levels of propaganda, and again, taking it back to normification and mainstreaming of an ideology that has alt-right roots. For someone like Clavicular who has stated he was on those forums during his formative years, he knows this. There is no way he isn't aware of it. The fact that he spends his time hanging out with alt-right figures who Heil Hitler, are racist, misogynist, traditionalists, Clavicular is promoting these ideologies. Because he believes in them, in my opinion. Clavicular tweets about wanting justice for his security guard who is African American, who was supposedly refused entry to a Miami club due to his race, and yet Clavicular participates and perpetuates in racial superiority antics by doing looksmaxxing. Clavicular says the N-word. He hangs out with people sieg-heiling. What more is there to say about this? You can't convince me that Clavicular cares about the struggles of African American people, or just people of color in general. At first, I was going to say this next bit isn't necessarily a lie, more like a convenient and quiet business dealing, but I will say at this time this is allegedly a lie Clavicular tells or doesn't want you to know. It is alleged by multiple papers that Clavicular has an OnlyFans agency, or at the very least, there is an OF agency linked to Clavicular. Maybe he has a team that manages it, I don't know. Of course, Clavicular has denounced OnlyFans and done the same spiel that all the right-wing grifters do. They say OF is deplorable and then secretly they're taking a fat check from it. What's fucking new? I don't know. I can't say I'm surprised. This comes from a kick streamer named Livy Alex who openly talked about the offer she received from Clav's team. Apparently it was like an 80-20 split where the girl working gets 20% of what she earns. And since you didn't know maybe, OnlyFans takes around a 20% cut. That means that creators could be earning less than 16 cents per dollar or something crazy like that. That's insane. If that's true, insane. Clavicular seems to be the result of a child given way too much internet access, a true case study for what can happen when given unfettered access to the wonders of the web. A lot of people empathize with his self-esteem struggles and probably can relate to it. The world has identified that males can also suffer from body dysmorphia, not just women. Gee, who would have thought? It's almost like maybe men and women aren't as different as looksmaxxing and incels try to make it out to be. Generally speaking, a lot of people think Clav is just a kid who went down the wrong path with little guidance in life. That may very well be true. While I don't know the Clavicular family at all, if the clips of his interactions with his dad are real and true, then that is very telling in my opinion. I think a lot of people appreciate how blunt and honest Clav seems to be. A lot of people brush off what he does and think he just has a quirky hobby and if he enjoys it, what's the harm? However, Clavicular as a figure online directly contributes to creating more kids just like him. Kids that will look up to him and his methods, and despite him saying he would never recommend crystal meth, the kids who idolize him probably won't listen to that, especially when they look at his results. Looksmaxxing is literally results driven, and it boasts that ascending is like the focal point. Clav himself even says there's no point to even trying to date until you've maxed out yourself. What do you think that leads his audience to? Clavicular's whole message revolves around your physical attractiveness getting you somewhere in life, and a lot of it stems from things you can't really change, even with expensive elective surgeries. His particular brand of nihilism is attractive to young men, which creates a perfect storm of manipulation and profit potential. Not to mention the scientific words he uses makes him sound data-driven, which appeals to young men. Younger males might seek logical rationalization as a perspective to deal with the shortcomings in life. We can argue about pretty privilege till the cows come home, but I think this nihilistic attitude is unhealthy and certainly not one that should be popularized, especially among vulnerable, impressionable groups. Looksmaxxing and the incels behind the origins of the concept want society to have a caste-based system revolving around your looks. They may say it's already there and are just peeling back the curtain of society, but in reality, that is their way of lulling you into following their ideology, because if you believe it's already like that, then what's the point in fighting it? As a woman who grew up during the coke chic era of the early 2000s, it's hard watching almost the exact same shit being put onto men. There is profit to be made in making you insecure, and Clavicular is enjoying the fortunes that comes with that. As a cog in the machine, he has been selling courses on how to looksmack, directly profiting off his audience and manipulating their insecurities. When Clavicular tries to tell you in an interview that he's merely doing traditional bodybuilding and fitness style stuff, but with a little focus on facial aesthetics, he is rebranding Looksmaxxing to make it palatable to the public, to you. His interviews show just how misogynistic his thinking is, but I doubt most people outside of his community will bother watching them. Unfortunately, I had to spend hours yesterday watching Fresh and Fit videos. Awesome. That's why I showed you all the clips that I did today. Somehow I think Clavicular has managed to avoid a lot of criticism because people feel a lot of empathy for him, but haven't seen his conservative side because those moments, for some reason, they just don't get clipped. If you're a woman and you get tattoos, you're just trashy. Okay, whereas with men it's okay. It's a double standard that makes zero fucking sense.
Oh my god, holy cringe. Are you serious?
Congrats to Kyle. I'm happy he's married. Why is this cringe?
Dude, look at her arms. Are you serious?
Yeah, that looks really expensive. Those are, getting a whole sleeve done, that must be like $3,000.
I don't know. So the way I feel about tattoos, for men, it's just like, I would never do it, but I'm not like the most outspoken if people have them. As males, I think there's a certain aesthetic that certainly fits into it. But if you're a woman and you're getting tattoos, you know, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on YouTube, but you're just a trashy, like, I don't know what
you could say. I think you could say that word, but
it's funny how he would end up dating his girlfriend Lily, who coincidentally has tattoos. Funny that the guy who denounces OnlyFans allegedly maybe has an OnlyFans agency. It's almost like he just says this stuff to appeal to his demographic. Don't even get me started on Lily, man. She just shows up to Fresh and Fit and full-on dissociates for 3 hours, trying to not take Clavicular's berating too hard, and now that they're broken up, Lily, I hope that you can experience a real partnership where your values do not come from what you can do for a person, but just for who you are. If she's 18, give her a break, I guess. Clavicular is openly and outwardly a misogynistic piece of shit. He will say horrendously sexist things about women, then refute being an incel and says he wants to be as far away from the community as possible. While he might not be an incel in himself, as he clearly does have sex, I guess, people can still see what he's doing, right? He says he's not an edgelord, but then he merely only hangs out with other edgelords. It's like he's placing the blame on everyone else. When the chores aren't done, it's Lily's fault, and she's ruining his efficiency. When Channel 5 interviews him, it's complaints about how he hasn't been asked the right questions about looksmaxxing. It's all gotcha journalism. He insists looksmaxxing isn't political, but is foundationally built on politics and misogyny. Braden Peters sucks.
Asking like political questions, and I'm just like, okay, like I don't mind it. You know what I mean? I'm not really like afraid to answer anything. You know, gone through every single question of yours besides the one about my security, which is a little bit weird. But yeah.